We should explain that the area containing the Sumerian city-states was called Sumer and was not a country with boundaries as we know it. To the north was an area called Akkad. These two areas were conquered by and became Babylonia. To the north of them was an area called Assyria.
These groups of people were constantly at war, both with each other and also inside their own lands.
Especially Assyria. Everyone had to be in the army there. Their society was a war machine.
The only city which did not involve itself in war was Nippur, a religious center worshipping the goddess Inanna, to which all the city-states came to settle their disputes.
Our United Nations.
Sort of.
But that didn't stop them cutting off the water supply to the next city down the river so they could move in and take over its wealth.
It's probably why they became such good engineers and built such intricate irrigation systems.
What did they do for relaxation?
They had their great festivals, which sometimes went on for days, and for which they dressed up in their finery. Jewelry and makeup were worn by men and women, if we are to believe the evidence of some of the grave findings. They used files, tweezers, perfume, and makeup jars.
Their culture didn't allow for the leisure that we take for granted. Theirs was essentially a farming community, and most of the people were farmers, working all the daylight hours.
Their craftspeople and merchants, however, made up what we might call a middle class, and their professionals were doctors, scribes, and architects. At the highest level were priests and priestesses, kings and queens.
Their doctors always attended in pairs, one to give advice based on what he'd learned about medicines, and there was a long list of them.
And the other to magic the disease away by supernatural means, and he or she had an impressive list of spells.
Science and religion in harmony.
Their clothes are interesting. They seem to have favored a sort of grass skirt. Later, when they understood how to make cloth, the skirt became long for both women and men. A royal grave can yield treasures, such as those of Queen Puabi at Ur. Headdress and jewelry of exquisite workmanship. A golden goat climbing a tree. The harp, decorated with a bull's head, tells us what her favorite music must have been.
Storytelling was one of the entertainments at court, and the bards or poets who told the tales were looked on with respect, and always accompanied themselves with a lyre or harp.
Later, these stories became myths and were written down, and we can still read them.
Gilgamesh was a hero like the Greek Heracles, who became the Roman Hercules. He had the most exotic adventures while looking for the secret of immortal life.
And the Enuma Elish is a wonderful account of the creation of the world, with great battles between forces of good and evil, gods and goddesses and human beings.
What happened to the Sumerians?
Watch the last program to see how the search for food developed into some of the most sophisticated economies the world has yet seen.
Be with us next time, when we'll start with Egypt.